Hi all, thank you so much for attending this virtual student panel. We are so excited to answer all of your questions tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself, and then I will let the tour guides introduce themselves. I will let everyone know that just if you have any questions, just make sure to drop them in the Q&A box and we will get to them. But my name is Ainoa. I am a senior double majoring in psychology and Spanish with a minor in human health sciences. And on campus, I was involved with the DU dance team, and I am currently involved with the Latina Student Alliance. And then I will let Monica introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Monica. I'm a double major in finance and integrated sciences with minors in math and chemistry. I'm also a fourth year. I'm from Harvard, Louisiana, so about 30 minutes away from New Orleans, and I'm part of the finance club, the pre-health club, Excelling Leaders Institute, SASA with the South Asian Student Alliance, and Equity in STEM. And I'll pass it off to Claire.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire. I'm a fourth year here on campus studying psychology with minors in Spanish and entrepreneurship. I'm also getting my master's of social work currently. On campus, I'm involved with DU EMS, which is an on-campus emergency response team. I'm also involved with research here on campus, as well as I am conducting my own research and wrote my own thesis. I can pass it over to Lily.
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm a junior. I'm studying criminology with minors in history and psychology. Apart from being a tour guide, I'm also involved in our a cappella group here on campus and also our Model United Nations team. And I'll pass it to Kevin.
Hey everyone, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Kevin. I'm a fourth year from San Diego, California, and a double major in international studies and economics with minors in Spanish and leadership studies. I'm also pursuing a master's program in global economic affairs, so I know about all things Corbel. And when I'm not giving tours on campus, I am the president of our improv club, and I go on the occasional Alpine Club trip. And I'll pass it over to Brett. Sorry.
No, all good. I can wrap us up. Hi, everyone. My name is Brett. I am a senior from Cleveland, Ohio, double majoring in computer science and communications with minors in sociology and mathematics. Apart from being a tour guide, I also have jobs at our Burwell Center for Career Achievement, as well as our study abroad office. And I did study abroad last year in the beautiful Australia.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So I don't currently see any questions in the Q&A box, but I will come up with a fun one. Brett just mentioned study abroad. So if you all did study abroad, would you care to share where and why you chose that program? Oh, I can start also. I studied abroad last fall, not this past fall, but a year ago, I guess, in Sevilla, Spain. And I chose that because I am a Spanish major and they had really good classes for Hispanic studies. But yeah, whoever wants to start off with that.
I can jump in. I studied abroad in Chile, so also a Spanish program, but I knew I wanted something a little off the beaten path. No disrespect to Spain at all. I'm very jealous that you got to be there, Ainoa. But it was very special. As an outdoorsy person, I got to really explore some unique environments. After my semester, I did about a month of backpacking in the deep Patagonian wilderness. So it was definitely pretty formative. One thing we like to talk about with study abroad is the fact that you really can do it regardless of what you study. Now, we have language minors or majors, and like I study international studies, so it made a lot of sense for us to study abroad. But a lot of our students, regardless of what they're focusing on, will find a way to tailor it to that abroad experience.
I can also speak on this. So I was actually just abroad this fall, so September to December of 2023. I studied criminology abroad, so I just continued my major and I went to London. It was so much fun. And just a little bit to speak on the abroad process, I guess, just in general, since it's a little fresh in my head still. Typically, most of our students apply the year before. So I applied in 2022, fall quarter, and I found out that I got in during the winter break of 2022. So then that gave me literally 9 months to make sure I got my documents in order, made sure my flights were booked, and just gave me a lot of time to be able to transition from finishing up DU in June to going straight to London in September.
Okay, perfect. So I will answer one of the questions right now just very quickly from the Q&A. The first one I see is what is Greek life like on campus? I will say that only 18% of students are involved with Greek life on campus. I don't think that it's like a very big thing here on campus. I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but I think it's there if you want it to be there, not if you don't want it to be there. But Victoria is going to be dropping Christopher's email, who works with fraternity and sorority life here on campus, and we do have 18 chapters on campus. And then the next question, I will have two people answer this one. Whoever wants to answer, just raise your hand or something. But it's what is your favorite and least favorite part about DU?
I can start.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
My favorite part about DU is definitely the professors. Because of the small class sizes, so it's about 22, they actually get to know you and know your name. I remember I took a math class back in for fall quarter sophomore year, and I still see my professor to this day, and he was like, "Hey, Monica, my job, I never had him after those 10 weeks." So it was like pretty cool that he still remembers my name, and we just grew that relationship. And same thing goes for all of them. I also had physics where there's about 80 people. So for science classes, it's gonna be a bit bigger, but then for labs, you get into smaller groups and then you talk to your TA and stuff. But this professor, I don't know, shout out, he memorized everybody's name because on the second week, I rose my hand and asked a question. I forgot for what. But then he was like, "Yeah, Monica, I never said my name to this man." But he just memorized everybody's name. And I was like, that's super cool and really thoughtful because you're not just a number in like the roster or something like that. And then my least favorite part is probably diversity. There's not that much diversity. At DU, they're getting better at it. But in my classes, like I'm in business and you guys know like it's usually like male dominated. So even just being a woman in there is like one class I had one of two girls. But it's just like when you go into those fields, you kind of know that it's male dominated. So that like just be aware of it.
I can also answer my favorite thing about DU. There's lots of favorite things, but my biggest thing is the involvement of extracurriculars that you can and how you can supplement what you're learning in class with like what you're doing with your peers. Like the big thing I'm involved with is DU EMS, where we're running an emergency response team on campus, which is something I never thought I would be involved with when I stepped on campus as a freshman. But it's been a really cool opportunity to grow professionally within that field. And then I also wanted to echo what Monica said. One of the weaknesses of DU is diversity. We are a predominantly white institution. But as Monica said, if you recognize that, as well as the administration is also doing a lot to bring more diversity in, bring diverse voices in, as well as really recognize that being a prominent white institution comes with a lot of privilege. And so how can we enlighten those conversations across campus?
Nice, thank you, Monica and Claire. Kevin, if you want to answer the one about LLCs.
Sure, I can also talk about roommates briefly because there was a question in there about choosing your roommates. So LLCs are living learning communities. For anyone who doesn't know, they are typically 1-year commitments where you are placed on a floor of a residence hall where everybody on that floor is studying the same thing that you are. So you'll pick the LLC based on a topic. I know in the past they've been ones offered in like wellness, sustainability, business entrepreneurship, science and ethics. There's typically different floors and they change from year to year. But if you really know you're passionate about something, and you want to be around maybe some like-minded folks who are also taking classes with you and doing extracurricular activities, it's a great way to build community. Now, for my leadership minor, I am getting that through our Pioneer Leadership Program, which is not an LLC. It's a 4-year program, but in the first year of that program, they try and have all of the leadership students live together in the same building, just to build that community. So I kind of got a taste of what that was like. So as far as the roommate question, I know that I knew I would be with a leadership student, but also beyond that, I pretty much just went randomly. As far as roommates, you can either go in randomly, you can select to live with someone specific if you already know them and they're already coming into DU, or we have this roommate profile system where you can fill out a quick survey with your likes, your dislikes, your habits, your interests. Do you like to leave the room messy? Do you like to get up early? And the system will automatically like show you kind of a match of like who'd be a good roommate. And so if you want to go with that, you can do that too. But I would say that being in the dorms is definitely a rite of passage. You're going to make a lot of friends that way. And having entered in the fall of 2020 when COVID was like at its peak, I would say that being in an LLC type situation was really helpful for making friends, because especially during that period of time, it was really hard to socialize and make friends. But because I knew I was with this leadership cohort, I had been on Zoom calls with these people the summer before, and then I was taking classes with them, doing stuff outside the classroom with them. And it's definitely like built up a significant portion of my most immediate friend group. You'll definitely make friends regardless of whether you're in an LLC or not. Again, they're not required. But if you see one that you're really interested in, you make some really close connections through that.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. Then the next question is about the quarter system. So Brett, if you want to talk about your favorite things about the quarter system.
Yeah, actually, one of the reasons I'm at DU is because of the quarter system. I think it's awesome. Just because it allows students, especially students who come in undecided like myself, to explore so many different classes and so many different options. I mean, you have 4 quarters instead of 2 semesters, so way more opportunities to kind of explore what classes you might like. I mean, I think in my time at DU, I've had like a total of 8 majors. I've really been all over the place. I did science, I did humanities, social science. I've tried it all. And I feel like one of the reasons I'm still graduating on time is because we're on the quarter system and that flexibility is allowed and actually kind of encouraged for our students.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, Lily, if you want to talk about housing options for first and second years.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So we do have a 2-year live-on requirement. So freshmen and sophomores are going to be in our dorms. So just to kind of quickly run through the names, you can explore all of our dorms. We have also updated tours that we just did last year or the year before on our website of just kind of the interiors of them. But for freshmen, the 3 options are going to be JMAC, DeMond, and Halls, which are spread out pretty evenly, I would say, between the north, central, and south parts of campus. And then we do have 3 second year dorm options: Nelson, Nagel, and Towers. Towers is going to be the farthest on the northernmost point of campus, but I would say a positive of that one is it's the closest to the light rail. So that was really nice to utilize during my sophomore year. And then the other 2, Nelson and Nagel, are going to be closer to, I would say, maybe the central or more southern part of campus. And what else did it say? Just kind of like describe them in general. So yeah, basically with the you'll find like kind of the same resources, I would say, in all of our dorms. They come equipped with laundry rooms. Our dorms are also only doubles, meaning you would only share with your room with one person. We don't do quads or triples or anything like that you might see elsewhere. But yeah, there's more about that, all of those on our website, but that's just kind of a quick rundown of where they are located and which dorms are available to freshmen and sophomores.
Perfect. And then I will just have maybe two of you answer best residence hall for freshmen. Anyone?
I can answer this one. I lived in JMAC my freshman year. I'm always gonna champion JMAC. I know Damon's the newest and like it was built in 2020 and who knows when JMAC was built. But I really do like JMAC just because like Kevin mentioned earlier and Brett too about just like the communities of dorms. Your freshman year, you might not know anyone coming to campus. I know that was the case for me. I didn't know anyone here and so I kind of just came in with the open mind of I know dorms are kind of the best way to at least that first few weeks to kind of get to know people. So I just can always speak to in JMAC, we kind of just had an open doors policy in the sense of we kind of just left our doors open. You can knock on the door if you see someone walk by, be like, hey, we actually have a class together. Or I just stopped in on my first week, just said hi to everyone to kind of get to know who was living on my okay, I'm so sorry. Just to get to know people who were living on my floor. So I always say JMAC is the best dorm in my opinion, since it's only 3 levels. It's a lot more open and you'll get to know the people in the dorm really easily. So I'm gonna champion JMAC as the best one.
Okay. So very quickly, someone asked what classes you take for a minor or major in Spanish. Kevin, are you a minor? Okay, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I did not intend to minor in Spanish, but I got a lot of transfer credits in from high school. And so I realized that I would only need a few more classes to get that minor. And I also figured it would be helpful to have the language when I studied abroad. So the classes that I took, I really didn't take many of the kind of prerequisite courses that are more just vocabulary and grammar, like the introductory courses, because I got a lot of that in high school. My first one was called Conversation and Composition, so it was very writing and speaking focused. But then after that, once you get to like the 2000 level courses, they're very culturally specific. So one might be all about Spain, Iberian history and culture, Latin American societies and cultures. You get a lot of history, but in Spanish. I'm currently taking my last Spanish class, which is the 3000 level, more literature focused one called Central American Narratives and Stories. And so it's covering a lot of difficult history of Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and talking about, you know, stuff during the Cold War, but reading from the perspectives of artists and authors that were there. So they'll have the technical courses, but then very quickly, a lot of those courses will focus on Latin American culture, as well as just, yeah, anything, I guess, Spanish speaking and culturally, but they have more than just kind of what you might expect from, you know, standard language courses.
Thank you. So there was a question about cultural clubs. So like I mentioned at the beginning, I am part of LSA, which is our Latinx Student Alliance. So there are a lot of different student alliances and affinity groups here on campus. So I'm part of the Latinx Student Alliance, and last year I was on the e-board, so the executive board, and we kind of just reach out to other alliances on campus and collaborate with them. I remember last year we did a collaboration with the Asian Student Alliance, and we made friendship bracelets and origami for Valentine's Day. And then LSA's biggest event of all year is the carne asada that we have in the spring. But we can talk a little bit more about weather here later, but it was in end of May. and we were planning on having it on the campus green, a huge event, very fun, everyone can come, and then it snowed the day before, so that got moved to inside. It was still a very fun event. You never know with the weather here. But yeah, and then I don't know if Monica wants to mention something else.
Yeah, so I'm part of South Asian Student Alliance, which is SASA. And the cool thing about the cultural clubs on campus is that you don't need to identify with that description in order to go to the events. So I know, like if I know I wanted to come to SASA, she could, or BSA, which is Black Student Alliance, or ASU African Student Union. I might be wrong with the U. But either way, like no one's gonna turn you around and say like, actually, you're not part of this club. Like you go away. Like we all for our clubs, we just want people to come in and just appreciate the culture and stuff like that. I know for SASA we had Diwali, and a lot of people came and showed up, ate all the cultural food and learned about what it really was, which is like the Festival of Light. And yeah, and then the vibe, that one of the questions was like, what's the vibe like? Is it groups? Is it clicky? I would say no, just because of the fact that, if you're are part of one club, it doesn't stop you from joining another one or coming to the events. Once again, you don't have to be a member to actually go to the events. You just have to like sign up on Crimson Connect, which is our website that showcases all the club events that are happening on campus.
Perfect, thank you. Let's see the next one. What do students do for fun on the weekends, Kevin?
Yeah, so we kind of say it's typically like 50-50 where students are spending their time, whether it's on campus on the weekends, enjoying clubs, maybe club sports, intramurals, things within the DU community. And then the other half of the time, they are going downtown or going into the mountains, enjoying all the things that you have access to as a student in Denver. One story I like to tell is like sophomore year, fall quarter. One weekend, I climbed 3 14ers with both the Alpine Club and the Backpacking Club. We have many 14ers in the state of Colorado. These are peaks of over 14,000 feet. And so I had a crazy weekend of just extreme outdoor adventure. And then the following weekend, my dad was actually celebrating his birthday, and his favorite band was playing at one of the many music venues that we have in downtown Denver. And so I hopped on the light rail, I took it downtown and met up with him and the rest of my family on 2 different nights, and we went to multiple shows. And I think that story really just gives the range of like what your lifestyle can be like. It is really a choose your own adventure, both among the students here and what you do. For example, right now it's ski season, so a lot of students are trying to fit in as many ski days as they can, whether it's during the week or on weekends. But being in a big city like Denver and being about 20 minutes from the heart of it, you have a lot of access to whether it is like performing arts related stuff. The Performing Arts Center is excellent. Museums, but then also professional sports teams through like our undergraduate programming board or like the honors program. I've been able to go to Nuggets basketball games or Rockies games and get to really enjoy that. There are lots of funky neighborhoods around Denver that each have kind of a different scene going on. So it's been fun to explore that. But yeah, I mean, even as an out-of-state student without a car, I would say that having that light rail and having that RTD pass, which is our like public transportation in Denver, included with your student ID, that all being free, really makes it easier for me to get around and more motivated to get out and see like what is actually kind of at my fingertips.
Yeah, I can go real fast. I think Kevin covered it really well, though. I always kind of like to say, I think out of like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I typically say people spend one of those days in downtown or one of those days like dedicated to skiing. And other than that, I mean, even around campus, there's a lot of fun things to do on campus and right off campus. So for the people that don't go downtown or don't go to the mountain to ski, there's still a lot of activities you can do on campus. But yeah, it is pretty split, and whatever you're kind of feeling that weekend, you can usually find friends to go either out with you or stay back with you.
Perfect, thank you. Claire, if you want to touch on the mountain campus.
Sure. So this is actually a new addition to our campus. I guess it's been 2 years now. I felt really new, but I guess it's been 2 years. So freshmen do have the opportunity as a part of their orientation to go up to the mountain campuses for a weekend, which I think is super cool. And in addition to that opportunity, you also can do like retreats up there. So like the honors program has done retreats up there. I've had classes that have like gone up there for a day or two. So you can use that, as well as they also typically do like wilderness med courses up there as well. So there's lots of opportunities to just go up there if you want. One of my favorite things to do up there is is a rock wall. There's an indoor one, but there's also an outdoor wall, which is really fun to just like go and explore. That's probably my favorite thing. But they are kind of like figuring out how to best use it and allow students to access it throughout the year. And that comes with like updating a lot of the stuff, since it was an old Girl Scout camp, and kind of like allowing students the opportunity to have transportation. But that's a little bit more about the mountain campus.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to answer very quickly the question about the dance team. I was on the dance team my freshman and my sophomore year. I really enjoyed my time on there. I did enter college though in 2020, so my freshman year we didn't really have any games to perform at. We didn't have anything to do. We just kind of learned dances together and perform them for each other. And then my sophomore year, we did have games and all. So we did perform at hockey, basketball, lacrosse, and I feel like I'm missing, I think that's it. But we did both men and women's basketball and men and women's lacrosse. And it was really fun. We didn't get the chance to compete that year though, but last year they did compete both regionally and nationally, and they are doing that this year as well. I think they are a great group of, they're all girls currently, but anyone is allowed to try out. It is kind of a time commitment, but it is not D1, it is a club sport. So it's not as of a big thing. It is still definitely something that will consume your time. It practices were at night though, so it is pretty manageable, but I had a really fun time, and it was just another way to meet people as well, and just to get involved on campus and see all the games. And the next question will be, what are your favorite events or traditions on campus? If everyone wants to just answer this one with their favorite tradition or event, yeah, whoever wants to start.
I'll go. So my favorite is hockey camp out, where you camp out of the Ritchie Center. The Ritchie Center is where our hockey rink, gym, Olympic-sized pool, basketball courts, literally everything under the sun is in this building. And you camp out for the night, and then the first 300 students get a free season pass for hockey. Because hockey is the only sport that isn't free for students. It's only $5 a student ticket, but if you're going to every game, like me, it adds up. And personally, I don't want to pay that. But it's super fun. This year, actually, there were around 800 students who signed up. I say that because we had like 3 different news stations come to hockey camp. I was like, this is crazy. And I got one actually every year except freshman year because COVID. But it's actually super fun. They send you the tickets through your phone, so it's all an easy process. And I also wanted to talk about another question was about the sporting events and how like popular they are. Hockey, super popular. The student section sometimes sells out. So you have to get your tickets really early if you don't have the pass. And then the 3 main ones that I've seen, I've been to all of them, but like the 3 ones that are like, wow, there's so many people in here. No, 4. Gymnastics, hockey, soccer, and lacrosse. Those are crazy. My first gymnastics meet I went to actually was on Sunday. So it just gives you the opportunity to go find sports that you never saw / experienced before, and like you kind of like it. That was me with hockey. I'm from Louisiana, never saw hockey in my entire life. And then I came here, saw them play. I was like, I love hockey. So, yeah.
I can go next. Mine isn't like a tradition or an event, but it falls in the same realm. But I love how Denver has first year seminars. I think it's such a cool concept and such a good introductory to college. Those classes are so random. They go from so many different topics. Like my roommate's first sem class was stuff about zombie apocalypses, and my first sem was the history of board games. So they're so fun, they're so weird. And also the professors that teach them aren't typically part of that department. So you might have like a science teacher who's teaching sports in Chicago, first year seminar or stuff of that nature. And yeah, you become really close with the professor that teaches that because they're also your academic advisor for that first year. So I think it's just such a cool concept and a really good intro to kind of what a college class is like.
I can go next. Oh no, Kevin unmuted. So my favorite tradition is Winter Carnival, which happens in February. It's happening in a few weeks. One of the reasons, okay, well, so what happens is DU partners with a ski resort. The past couple of years, it's been Winter Park. And so you get discounted lift tickets, lodging, and if you don't ski or snowboard, you also get the opportunity just to go up there and like ice skate or tube or things like that. So part of the reason that is one of my favorite traditions on campus is because it like is a designated weekend where most people are going up into the mountains and truly just like recuperating and resting and like enjoying the scenery that we're very close to. And so to also answer the question about what ski pass most students get, I would say it's about like a 50-50 split between Icon and Epic. Give or take, it depends like which friend group you're in. A lot of people will get Icon because Alpine Club partners with Icon to get discounted passes with them, so it's a super discounted rate. But you can also get a discounted student rate for Epic Pass. So it's really up to you and what your friend group is doing and what resorts you prefer to ski.
My favorite tradition, it's not really as big as like hockey camp out or winter carnival, but every quarter around week 5, and sometimes during other weeks, they'll have these things called mid-quarter munches, which is just when undergraduate programming board for a week will have a different bit of free food around campus every day of that week. And so while midterms are happening and you're feeling stressed out and you're thinking maybe, oh gosh, I have all these assignments to do, and then you turn the corner and there's like free donuts. Like that's just the best feeling. And I think I like taking advantage of the free food, and there's always an opportunity for free food somewhere on campus, whether it's a club or like organized by undergraduate student government, or programming board. But yeah, be on the lookout for free food because there's a lot of it.
My favorite activity would be the one we throw in our spring quarter, which is May Days. I just love May Days just because by that point the weather is so nice. It's a big event on our campus green, where there's like food trucks. Last year it did rain, so that did kind of suck, but the year before it didn't, so that one was really fun. But there's food trucks, so many outdoor events. One year there was like a little like, I don't want to say merry-go-round, but it was like a little Ferris wheel type ride, and I was just in the middle of our campus green and I was like, this is insane. But I would say May Days is my favorite. It's just it happens usually around week 8 or 9, I want to say, and it's just a great way to kind of just like de-stress, knowing that like the end of the year, not only the end of the quarter is coming up, but the end of the year is coming up. So that's one of my favorite traditions on campus.
Perfect. And then Lily, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in criminology?
Yeah, of course. So for criminology, I'll just kind of give a super brief, quick rundown of like classes. So there are 5 required classes, and I'm taking some of those right now. Just basically, they're getting you to explore the topic at first, and then just talking about theories, and just kind of making sure you understand like the fundamentals of criminology. Quickly, I also wanted to mention that it is a tied major. It's criminology and sociology. So I take the same classes with sociology students. So the required courses are the exact same for criminology and sociology students. Where it starts to like divulge is where you take your electives. So for the major, which is 40 credits, you take 5 elective classes, so 5 required, 5 elective. And those could range in any areas of crime. So I have taken, at least for criminology, I have taken mass incarceration classes, one on victimology, another one on criminology from a radical perspective. So there are pretty much for any area of crime being studied, there is a class that is an elective credit for it. So 5 required classes and 5, I like to just call them 5 fun classes.
Perfect, thank you. There's a question that says, what surprised you most about DU? Claire, if you want to start off on that one, and then I'll have one more person answer that one as well.
Yeah, so my story is that the first time I visited DU, I absolutely hated it, and I swore that I would never come to DU, and I obviously ended up at DU for the past 4 years. So the thing that surprised me the most was that I actually enjoyed it. I thought I was really gonna hate being in the city. I come from a small mountain town in the southwest part of Colorado, so I thought that like the city was gonna be super overwhelming. But the location of DU is that like we're only about 15 minutes from downtown, but we're in a more residential area by a lot of parks, which has been really amazing. And so that's probably one of the most surprising things about DU.
I was most surprised by, I think, just the number of resources I didn't know I had access to. Now, this could be a function of COVID, like things were just kind of closed and suppressed when I first got to campus. But every successive year, I learn about new things that we have access to. We have a student-run bike shop that will fix up your bikes completely for free. That's part of our Center for Sustainability. I saw like a Pinterest post for a smokeless fire pit that you could make like using some old pots and pans. And so last quarter, I emailed the metalworking shop in the engineering school and I said, like, can I do this? Can I just make this? I'm not a STEM student at all, but we have that metalworking shop as well as like an innovation lab and a woodworking shop. And they let me just go in there and use those resources with some supervision, of course. But there are just a lot of things around campus, different communities, different clubs. I think the more that you can just be open to new groups and new experiences when you get here, the more you're going to discover. That's a skill that you can practice in the DU environment and will definitely serve you into your future. But just being surprised by like, oh, we have an entrepreneurship club and we have a food pantry and we have a thrift store and like a garden is happening somewhere. Like that just, I think, has been pretty cool to see as time goes on that like, oh, as much as we feel like a small institution, like there's always, you know, a unique pocket of something to discover.
Perfect, thank you. Brett, do you want to talk about what the community is like here on campus?
Totally. I think the community is super close knit. It's super easy for that to happen when you only have 6,000 undergrads. I think that's like the ideal size for a college, in my opinion. I always say it's big enough to, by the time you graduate, you won't know everyone, but it's small enough to, like on your way, when you're walking to class, you usually see someone you know. So it's super close. Everyone kind of intermingles with everyone. There's no like cliques, I would say. Very different from like a high school atmosphere. Everyone is also super helpful like inside a classroom. It's not competitive. It's way more collaborative. You find just students wanting to help their peers quite more. And yeah, I just think the community is one of the strongest points in Denver just because everyone is super close with one another and kind of knows of everyone.
Perfect, thank you. And then Kevin, if you want to talk about the ski club or how often you get to go skiing.
Sorry, typing answers in the chat. Yeah, skiing, Colorado. If you're not from here, this is one of the best places to do it. I'd say that it's really up to the student how frequently they want to go. I scheduled my classes this quarter so that I would only have them on Mondays and Wednesdays, so that I have Tuesday and Thursday and Friday free to go into the mountains. I'm now realizing I have probably more schoolwork than will allow me to do that every week. But if a student really wants to make the most of a winter season, they totally can. That's one of the benefits of the quarter system, is the fact that we rarely have classes on Fridays. And if you want to maybe take only 12 credits, only 3 classes, or even fewer, and just have more free time to enjoy the season, you can. It just depends on the season as far as how long you can go. We had a really heavy snowfall last year, so I know people that were skiing into May and even early June. Like, they were hiking up and just skiing what little bit of snow was left. But I know people that had got lots of days on the mountain. But yeah, ski club, well, Alpine Club is our biggest club on campus, and it's an all-encompassing outdoors club. So they will do different trips per quarter depending on the season. So in fall, they'll do more backpacking, climbing, maybe some, yeah, camping related trips. And then in winter, it's a lot of winter sports. They'll do ski buses. I actually went on the ski bus this past weekend. So we all met at one point on campus at about 5:30 in the morning, loaded the bus up with everybody's gear, got bagels, and then drove out to Copper and Vale. So if you had the Icon Pass, you got off at Copper and could ski there. And then the bus drove you however long. It's like they're pretty close to each other. So just up to Vale, and then the Epic Pass holders could ski, and then it drives everybody back. And so it's a great community, and you can do things like skiing. They'll do weekend trips, and other things, but things that you wouldn't maybe like expect. Like, I've gotten to go dog sledding. I've been ice climbing. In the spring, they'll do mountain biking, whitewater rafting, all sorts of stuff. There's also DU Free Ride, which is like a free ride skiing competing, like more of a club sport. One of my friends actually runs that group, so they're kind of through the club sports. And if you want to like competitively ski in that environment, they're great for that. But also I would just say, like, the community, there, if you can't find, like, if like you're out of state like I am, yes, not having a car is definitely a barrier to getting deeper into the mountains. But there are so many people around that are trying to go skiing and maybe trying to save on some gas and split that cost among some friends. I remember my freshman year just seeing, like, on Snapchat, like, people saying, like, I'm going to this resort on this day and I have this many seats in my car. Like, swipe up if you want to join. And so the community is very open to that. Alpine Club definitely helps. They also run like a beginner ski snowboarding. That's probably one of the best deals, is early winter quarter. If you've never done this before and you want to try, there are definitely some barriers to entry, both in cost and transportation. But the Ellington beginner ski trip, they will, like, for a pretty decent price of maybe like $80, they'll cover your lift ticket, a lesson, and your rentals for the day. So I wanted to try snowboarding, and I went on that trip, and fell down a lot and got very bruised, but also got to try snowboarding far more inexpensively than I could have otherwise. But yeah, also when you're 21, you can drive for Alpine Club, and it makes things even cheaper. So I'm a big proponent of it. Get outside.
Perfect, thank you. Monica, do you want to answer the question that's asking, do most students take the light rail to the airport when going home or returning from the holidays?
Yeah, so like Kevin said, when you're out of state, you usually don't bring your car. I know I didn't. I just didn't want to deal with that. Slash, I'm low-key scared to drive in the snow. But the airport, you can take the light rail and it's free using your RTD pass. So go to this light rail right here by Towers, and then from there you go to Union Station. From there you transfer to the A line, and that will take you straight to the airport. And you can take it back and forth. And for Uber, it just depends, just like, regular Uber, it just depends on what time you get it, what day you get it, if it's busy season or not, but usually $40 to $60. And you do have some friends that might live here and be like, hey, can you give me a ride to the airport? But if not, the light rail is right there. I know I've used it every time I've left for spring break, for winter break, to come back to DU. So it's really convenient.
Perfect, thank you. There's a question that asks is there strong school spirit? What's it like? I'm gonna really quickly touch on this. I would say that the best way to see our school spirit would just be going to a hockey game. I am from Arizona, so I also did not really grow up with hockey. So coming here to DU and going to my first hockey game was kind of crazy, especially coming like pretty close to U of A, just 20 minutes outside of the U of A, being a huge basketball school. My high school was a huge basketball school. This is not so much of a basketball school, but hockey is honestly like the most fun ever. I love going to those games, and I think that that's a really huge place to see school spirit. And then also, yeah, DU Programming Board, which was mentioned a couple times, they organize hockey camp out, winter carnival, all of those fun things, May days. I think that's also a way to see like school spirit and just see like all of DU kind of collaborate on events like that and just show up. And I think it's small enough, like everyone has mentioned, where even if you don't know everyone, you know mutuals and you know that that person is probably friends with one of your friends. So there's been times where I've been in line for an event from that DUPB's been putting on, and I'm in line waiting for my friends to get there, and I kind of look like a loner. And then I see like people in line that I know my friends are friends with, and I'm like, hi. And everyone is very open to like meeting everyone here, I would say. And I think that that's like a huge thing here on campus, is just like how tight knit we are and just a sense of community. Lily, if you want to answer the question about do students come from everywhere or mainly from Colorado?
Yeah, so I don't remember even if I said this in my intro, probably forgot, but I'm from Chicago, so I'm from out of state. I don't know the exact number for everyone who's not in state, so I don't want to give a false number, but I do know that 28% of our students are from Colorado, meaning that the rest are from outside of the state. I would say also just meeting the people who I talk to around campus, there's a lot of people who are from out of state. Of course, you are going to meet like the Colorado natives, but I would say honestly, just from talking to people around campus, it's a lot more out of state here, mainly from the Midwest. So Midwest representation.
Claire, if you want to answer the question about what really interesting experiential learning have you had in any of your classes?
Yeah, so I'm also a Spanish minor. So one of the classes I was taking was about current trends with what was the name of the class? I can't even remember at this point. Just like current trends about Hispanics and Latinx folks in the US, especially with young folks. And so part of that was doing a service learning project where you worked with a nonprofit in Denver that served the Latinx community. So I was able to go work for a quarter at this nonprofit. It was a nonprofit where we just like biked around after school, and I got to hang out with the students and speak Spanish with them. And it was probably one of the coolest experiential learning opportunities that I got. In addition to that, you can also do like research for course credit. You can also do certain, I'm like losing my words. Certain majors have internship programs as a part of it. So like the psych department has an experiential learning internship program that you can do for credit, and you can also do that on the side. So I mean, there's lots of things that you can integrate into to really get into the experiential learning part here on DU's campus.
Perfect, thank you. And then if you want to touch on orientation as well.
Yes. So orientation happens for all freshmen a week before classes start in the fall. So everyone will move on to campus, you get all moved into your dorms, and then throughout the week you have certain scheduled programming. All of this week you spend it with your freshman seminar class, and you have an orientation leader that kind of gets you familiar with campus. So you're able to really know where things are on campus, get to know the dining hall, get to know your floor mates. And then, so during the day, you're kind of doing that programming. And then at night, they have like fun activities, like they do a carnival, they'll do like an open skate night, things like that, as well as like the club fairs. That all happens the week before classes start.
Perfect, thank you. And then Kevin, if you want to talk about student involvement in theater or anything around that.
I was just going to briefly touch on that. A lot of my improv friends are involved in theater, and one regret I think I have about DU is that I actually didn't participate in any of the theater productions. I enjoyed theater in high school, but I knew I didn't want to major in it. And I was excited about DU because I knew that they would have a strong theater department, but they wouldn't have so many barriers to entry for non-theater majors, which has been the case for some of my like improv friends that are into the performing arts. One of my friends, he did theater in high school, didn't study it at DU, and then his senior year had some time off one quarter. We were doing cabaret, and he got the lead role, and did an amazing job. So auditions are open for everyone. The time commitment is just the big barrier. For some, they usually run during the winter. They'll run year round, but the bigger shows, they're currently doing Midsummer Night's Dream, and so they will have that typically during the winter, and the show schedule can be, or rehearsal schedule can be something like 7:30 to 10:30 most nights out of the week. Just depends on how big the cast is and what shows they're doing. But they have some pretty impressive spaces. Our Newman Center for the Performing Arts has a really nice theater that they've done some cool things with the stage before. I got to see them do Rent last year. And then Cabaret the year before, but they also have a black box theater inside of Johnson McFarland as well for smaller productions. Improv, we have our shows in an auditorium in Sturm, which is an academic building. But yeah, lots of opportunities, whether it's for clubs or also for theater, but fewer barriers to entry beyond just your typical audition process.
Thank you. And we are kind of coming close on time, so I will ask this final question for all of you to answer, and then if you're not answering, if you would be able to answer some of the questions in the Q&A through text. But the question is, what advice do you have to high school seniors right now? And ooh, I'm sorry about that. Whoever feels like they can answer that one first, go ahead.
I can start off. That's such a good question. I was not expecting that. I think I would just say, like, try to be as involved as possible. I really think making the most out of your 4 years in college is super important. But yeah, I mean, just sign up for so many different clubs. Even if you don't want to continue with the club, just get on the newsletter. I definitely suggest that. Also, like, try to get a student job. I know I got one job as a tour guide, and led to me wanting to get more jobs on campus. So I think getting involved and just using all the resources DU has to offer is the biggest piece of advice I could give to a high school senior.
I would say, well, I agree with that. Try anything twice is the motto that I go by. And I would say that, like physically being on campus was a big selling point for me. I know if you're from out of state or you're busy, like it can be really hard to visit. So I know that's not always accessible for everyone. But when I visited campus and was able to go to one of our campus events, that definitely helped me like envision what my life might be like at DU. And I visited probably way too many schools during the college process. But I think it's hard to compete with the experience of just being there. And for how unassuming our campus may seem, I think from the outside, once you get here, you can really realize all that it has to offer. And just the feel of it spoke to me. So for any college that you're thinking about, if you can visit, I would definitely recommend it. I knew location was really important to me, so that was definitely a good factor. But otherwise, just trust the process.
I can add one thing, like be comfortable being uncomfortable. So like for me, I've never stepped foot into Colorado before I got accepted into the U. So I came blind, you can say, but I just did my research and I was like, okay, this seems cool. But I say that because let's say you're in a state and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to move out of state. I feel like just apply and you just never know the opportunities that are going to be given to you. And same thing goes for like in college, like when a professor says like, oh, you should apply to this internship. Oh, you should be my TA for this class. Like just take the opportunities that you want to pursue because sometimes people see more things than you see in yourself, if that makes sense. So just be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Everyone has given so much advice. I was gonna echo what Monica said, so she took it. But I was gonna basically just say I think it's really stressful making a decision and feeling like you have to choose the right college. I think it is really great if you can visit, but that's not a reality for a lot of people. So you can do research, you can reach out to a student, and it's really just learning about experiences. One of the reasons I ended up choosing DU is because I met with a current psychology student, and I ended up like really learning about the program, and I ended up falling in love with the program. So I think just like asking questions, being curious, and ultimately if you get on campus and it's not quite what you want, you always have the opportunity also to transfer to another school, or also like find a community within that during your freshman year.
Yeah, just gonna echo those same oh my gosh, I really am losing what I'm saying. I'm just going to echo what everyone else has been saying. I think just it can be really overwhelming applying to colleges. Like May 1st is where, all of your decisions are going to be made and it sounds so far away, but then it's going to hit you before you know it. So my advice would honestly just be like, know you put in the work. Like there's no, like, just know that you've already hopefully gotten to most of the hard parts. Applying, I always say, is like the biggest step. Now I just have to wait and see what college feels the best for you so that by May 1st you kind of have an idea where you're going to be heading. So I know right now it's probably just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know where I'm going to be in a few months. Like this is kind of overwhelming, scary to not know like where you're going to be this time next year. But just know that like everything is going to work out. It will all kind of just work out the best way it can for you. So just kind of make sure you take this time, breathe, know the hard parts over, and then just make the best informed decision you can.
Perfect, thank you. Great answers. And then I will kind of just answer it a little bit since we do have a couple minutes left. I really liked what Monica said about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I am a first-gen student, and this whole college process was completely new to me. I had like no idea what was going on, and I couldn't really ask my parents what was going on because they knew even less than I did. So I kind of came in blind. I toured DU the summer before my senior year started. And I really loved the campus, even though there wasn't anyone here because it was summer. I still could feel the vibe and atmosphere, and I just imagined the students walking around. But I thought that it was a beautiful campus, and I really liked the opportunities that it seemed like it had to offer. And coming here, I am so happy that I chose this school. I was definitely uncomfortable the first whole year. I mean, all of us wearing masks and not being able to meet anyone really. And then on top of that, kind of just not knowing like what was going on really, and kind of feeling imposter syndrome sometimes. But I really like that Monica said, just feel comfortable being uncomfortable, because you're definitely not the only one feeling like that. I think that especially your senior year of high school, freshman year of college, everyone is kind of on the same boat, even if it doesn't seem like they are. So just reach out to people, make new friends, and just try everything, honestly. That first week that you're here, there'll also be a club fair and a resource fair. So you'll be able to talk to a lot of different clubs and organizations and different resources that there are here on campus. And like many of them said, just sign up for the their newsletter and show up if you want. And yeah, so I think that's really good advice that everyone said. But yeah, I think that concludes our panel today. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thanks to our panelists for answering all of those questions. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great rest of their college journey, whatever decisions you all make. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great night. Thank you all for joining.